So all the temples are all lit up and full of pilgrims offering lamps and massive waves of prasadam being distributed. That's Karthik and Vrindavan. I think we can turn this down a bit, just to, Usually when I say turn it down, it means they turn it off. But there's a middle ground. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadadi Gopijana Balaba Girivanadadi Jasora Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasora Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Chamuniti Ravanatari Chamuniti Ravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadadi Jasora Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Chamuniti Ravanatadi Tiravan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ibo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Devo. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pri Bhajagacharya Sita Deshisham Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaura Vaishnava Ki. Nam Char Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shri Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadip Dham Ki. Jagannath-puri Dham Ki. Jamuna Mai Ki. Ganga Mai Ki. Tulsi Maharani Ki. Bhakti Devi Ki. Samveda Bhakti Vinda Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Say Siddhara Giridhara Ki. Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki. Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Svatamo Bhagate Dhammaganadi Bisaha Kalanda Sadasham Misha Purana Konadodata Narayana Namaskachandanam Shaivam Narotama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. The Bhagavatam has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of this age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer respects to the personality of God in Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So we are on the 6th canto, chapter 1, text 41. Yena sva damni ami bhava raja sattva tamomaya guna nama kriya rupa vibhavyante yata tatam yena swadamni ame bhava rajasattva tamomaya guna nama kriya rupa vibhavyante yata tatam yena swadamni ame bhava rajasattva tamomaya guna nama kriya rupa vibhavyante yata tatam Yena Swadamne Ame Bhava Rajasattva Tamo Mayaha Gunanama Kriya Rupa Vibhavante Yatatatam. Can we get this? Oh, he's going. Vibhavyante yatatatam Yena svadamne ame bhava Rajasattva tano mayaha Gunanama kriya rupa Vibhavyante yatatatam Yena svadamne ame bhava Rajasattva tamo mayaha Gunanama kriya rupa Vibhavyante yatatatam. Yena. By whom? Narayana. Svadamni. Although in his own place. The spiritual world. Ami. All these. Bhava. Manifestations. Rajasattva tamamaya. Created by the three modes of material nature. Passion, goodness, and ignorance. What three colors, other than Dravida and Vaikuntha, are represented by the modes, are representative of the mode of passion? Three colors.
Three colors, all the passion.
I didn't ask you. Go. Red, blue, and yellow. Blue represents?
Mode of passion.
Mode of... Work with me, come on. We're serious here. Red is, and I didn't ask you, because I want the others to have a chance to think and wake up and be involved. Red. Passion, okay. What's yellow? Goodness. And what is blue? Mode of ignorance. And what is significant about these? These are the three primary colors. With these three primary colors, what can we do? Any other color in the... So all that we see, all human nature, everything that's going on, everybody's personality, it's all a combination of goodness, passion, and ignorance. That's the analogy. Okay, we'll move on. Guna, qualities. Nama, names. Kriya, activities. Rupai, and with forms. Vibhavyante, are variously manifested. Yatatatam, exactly to the right point. Translation. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayana, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world. But nevertheless, he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. In this way, all living entities are awarded different qualities, different names, such as Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, different duties according to the Varnashram system, and different forms. Thus, Narayan is the cause of the entire cosmic manifestation. And of course, we know that Narayan is the manifestation of Krishna, is Vishnu. Purport. The Vedas inform us, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samascha vyadidiksha cha drishyate, parasya shaktir vividai vasruyate, swabhavaki jnana bala kriyacha. It's from the Svetasvatana Upanishad, and we'll read that translation in a minute. Narayan, back to the purport, Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is almighty, omnipotent. He has multifarious energies, and therefore he's able to remain in his abode and without any endeavor, supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes, which all occur perfectly. Because the Lord is perfect, everything works as if he were directly supervising and taking part in it. Atheistic men, however, being covered by the three modes of material nature, cannot see Narayan to be the supreme cause behind all activities. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Tribir gunamaya bhavar ebi savam idam jagat Movitam na bijanati mamibaya paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes of material nature, the whole world does not know me, who am above them, above the modes, and inexhaustible. End quote. Because unintelligent agnostics are mohita, illusioned by the three modes of material nature, they cannot understand that Narayan, Krishna, is the supreme cause of all activities. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.1, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anarirare Govindam Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyanagana Salakaya Jakshushun Meditan Gena Tasmade Shri Gurave Namaha. Now, Tapas Prabhu, although not manifest with us, is out there in the ether, and he always asks, what's the title for this talk? So I thought I would get a jump on it. I was thinking about it, and hopefully it'll help you get an idea of where this train is going. I was thinking of conquering the unconquerable. Krishna's Ajita, he cannot be conquered. And yet, as so many things in this world is simultaneously one and different, things are not black and white. It is a nuanced, subtle, and sophisticated existence that we live in. So Krishna's complete. Who here accepts? Now, I'm going to give a big hint, and Dravida, just hold on, because let's let the other Prabhus jump in here. Damodar, this is the month of Damodar, which I'm not going to say any more than that. Being the month of Damodar, and yet here it's being stated that Krishna's unconquerable. And given the setup that we live in a nuanced and subtle and mystical world, anyone know where I'm going? Although, does anyone accept that Krishna is unconquerable? We all accept that, right? Yes. Anyone want to counter that?
His mom.
Ah!
Only if he has to be conquered.
But so he can be conquered. Although he's unconquerable, but he can be conquered. Wrap your mind around that. And how is he conquered? Is he take the kingdom of God by storm, like Ravana? Who do we have as the sterling example in the month of Kartik of capturing Krishna? Help me out here, Prabhus. I don't know how I can. Yeah, Mother Yasoda. Bound him up. So much. I think it's in the song we sing. Fear personified is afraid of Mother Yasoda's stick. So that's the special sweetness of Bhakti. And Balaram was touching on it yesterday, introducing Kartik. And we're going to say a few little things at the end here. But to understand that, because everybody, they take things cheaply. I was at a, believe it or not, it's a long story. I was at a bar mitzvah a few days ago. Now that's when in the Jewish tradition, a young lady or a young man, they're trained. It's good. I tell you, I offer them my respects. They're trained in the Jewish tradition, and they're trained in basic concepts. And then, there's a celebration that they're actually welcomed into the church. They have to give a little reading. They've taken tests. They get a spiritual name. Yeah. This kid was named Arye, which means lion amongst men. I was thinking of Lord Nrsingadev. So, and you know, I was there, we were reading the Torah, it's a whole story. But when they spell the name God, God is spelled G-O-D, right? But because of respect and awe and reverence, and that the name of God, if you were to utter it properly, would burn all things to ashes. So how do they write it? Hello to you. And someone will get you a little Mahaprasadam. You can go up for darshan, don't be shy. What will someone do? Well, how do they spell it? G-D, because you can't actually say the name of God. It's too powerful, you can't pronounce. And if you try to pronounce it, you'll actually be offensive. So just awe and reverence, you know. And the Muslims, I mean, if you, what is it, you know, graven images. Of course, that's the Christians, but you can't have an image of God. Are you limiting God? You're saying God has material features? And how, with your mundane hands, can you represent the full beauty of God? It's offensive to assume that God could be subject to your vision and concepts. And the Christians, we know, they do give us an image of God. And what is that image?
Old man.
Old man. In a chair, it's a wheelchair almost. An old man with a beard. Because he's the oldest. You know, it's just anthropomorphic. They propose, well, I had a father, my father had a father, my father's had a father, and the older you go, the farther back you get, you know, I know he's got about a Geritol or, you know, old age juice or something, you know. He's got a beard, and he's not in a good mood, I'll tell you that. He's smiting and smoting and smitten, and there's a verse, because when I was, and I'm not, I was impressed by the tradition and training, frankly, at that bar mitzvah. I have to admit, I was impressed. That we should be able to, you know, we should be doing that for our kids, man. But there was one verse, for I am a wrathful and vengeful God. And I think it's in Machiavelli's The Prince. I want to get back to where I want to go here, but it's describing that, you know, all the different ways that you should control people by strength and by fear and divide and conquer, and it's just it's a heavy scene, you know, and by dominance. But at the end, because you're dealing with people that are trying to stab you in the back and do all kinds of, so you control by fear. You got some prashad? Okay, very good. So, but at the end of The Prince, Machiavelli writes that if you control someone by fear, they will obey you to the grave. But if you control them by love, what? You'll control them forever. They'll try to follow you, they'll try to emulate, they'll try, you know. So because, I mean, you know, Prabhupada points out that he said Jesus taught thou shalt not kill, and one of the first things they did was kill him. So, and don't sleep with your mother, and, you know, that's, you know, don't eat raw pork. I mean, what's the audience? You got to speak according to the audience. But so therefore I'm a wrathful and vengeful God, and if you step out of line, buddy, you know, you're going to be in the desert for 40 years. I'm going to turn you into a pillar of salt. Okay, man, I'll do it. You know, just scare the bejesus out of him and keep him in line. Okay, it works, and it's necessary. We're not, you know, and it is an aspect of God. So we're not denying it, but we're saying that there is a higher, and that's what this Karthik Vrata and Damodar month and all of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. I'll tell you a joke I can't resist, and I wish we had more time. And now I've got to do it because I said I would. The Pope held an ecumenical, this is a joke, but it has a point. The Pope held an ecumenical council and invited representatives from all the different faiths of the world. And there was one nice Vrindavan Bhakta, nice, you know, Krishna Bhakta from Vrindavan was there. And they all had their chance to speak in all their different presentations. And the Krishna Bhakta, the Pope was so impressed, you know, by these different concepts that actually it's not just an old man, but there's different aspects and rasas, and wow, that's far out. And they say, what is it? Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. But how is that name actually hallowed? Well, that you'll find from the 6 Goswamis. You'll find out what is the true potency and nectar to be found. And what is it, Sanatana Goswami? Is it, no, Rupa Goswami. I do not know how much nectar these 2 syllables Krishna contain. There's a whole description, Okay. So the Pope's deeply impressed. So he invites him back to his chambers, and they're talking in the private quarters of the Pope. They're talking this and that. And the Krishna Bhakta notices that there's a solid gold phone. So he says, what's with the gold phone? And the Pope says, it's my direct line to God. I call him when I'm really, in pressure. He said, would you like to try it? And then the Pope says, you want to try it? He said, but don't talk long. It's super expensive. Don't talk long. It's got to go all the way through the different coverings of the universe, through the Brahma Jyoti, So, So the Bhakta, he doesn't have any anxiety. He just says, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. He offers a few sweet prayers and puts the phone down. That's all, He's satisfied. Pope looks at the bill, $15,000. Now, I'll sell a ring. Don't worry, we got it covered. Okay, so later on, the Pope is touring in India. And he goes to see his Krishna Bhakta friend. And he goes there to beautiful Vrindavan. And he sees, Madan Mohan and the Jamuna and, just like that. So he visits his Krishna Bhakta. And Krishna Bhakta fills him full of nice Mahaprasadam. And he's feeling quite happy. And the Pope notices that the Bhakta has a gold phone too. He said, yeah, I saw yours. I had one put in. And the Pope says, oh, geez, can I use it? I got so many problems. I got these, this and that, and schisms, and I got priests, and he talks. The next thing you know is a half hour. He's saying, oh, geez, man, what's the bill going to be? So he says, look, I'm really sorry. I'll pay you back. The Bhakta says, no problem. It's only 10 rupees. He said, 10 is less than $1. 10 rupees, how's it possible? And the Krishna Bhakta says, well, in Vrindavan, it's a local call. Ha! I like it. I think it's a nice joke. But it's that intimacy, that connection, that's the speciality of the holy Dham, Vrindavan, and Bhakti Ras. So that conquers Krishna. But so that we're not sentimentalists, thinking, you meet these people, I was in Vrindavan and Krishna was trying to snatch my sari, and come on. I heard the flutes of Vrindavan, and but they're still smoking cigarettes. People take things cheaply. They tend to take things cheaply. So as a little philosophical setup, from the Svetasvatara Upanishad, that verse that Prabhupada quotes, the translation is, the Supreme Lord has multipotencies which act so perfectly that all consciousness, strength, and activities are being directed solely by His will. There's the deists. I think George Washington was a deist. The world is like a giant clock. And God constructed it, wound it up, but now you're on your own. There's no connection. And then there's the arguments that, we have the laws of physics. Of course, who's maintaining the laws of physics? But we have the laws of physics and God can't interfere. A miracle by very nature means that it's an alteration of the laws of physics. But, it's an occasional a sporadic event that God intervenes. But the fact of the matter is that Krishna is sustaining all things at all times, at every moment. That's the amazing thing. First, we want to establish Krishna's position. Then we can talk about him. They painted pictures of Krishna in, the artists, our ISKCON BBT artists, our publishing house, our artists, they would show the paintings to Prabhupada, and he would correct and adjust. And so, Krishna's lifting Govardhan Hill. I don't know what Govardhan Hill weighs, but the tonnage is, So Krishna had little muscles. Usually we say he's 6 years old. I heard Prabhupada say 6 to 8 the other day on a tape. But 7. Okay, there we go. Right in the middle. So And Krishna had muscles for lifting, you know. Prabhupada said, no, no, no. He's a little fat from eating Mother Yasoda's butter. You know, Krishna doesn't have to lift weights. You don't have to become God, you know. So there's that. Again, I'm talking about parallels and appear to be contradictions. That here we're talking about the Supreme Lord, who's the cause of all causes, is maintaining everything, sustaining everything. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme. It's a British saying, and Prabhupada liked it very much. And yet here we have 7-year-old Damodar. How old is Damodar? Same age, isn't it? How old is he at Damodar age? Oh, he's a baby. Yeah. How is it possible? So it's all a bluff. Not us. Sorry about that. I should say, they say, well, it's all going on by nature. Well, what does that mean, nature? You know, they try to put out an answer and hope you don't ask too many questions. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but just like gravity, they don't actually have a definition of gravity. You look up gravity, it's called by graviton. Do Wikipedia, check it out. What's a graviton? Well, it's a particle charged with gravity. Does that sound like circular logic to you? And you know, I mean, it's a little. I've dropped a few steps, but you follow the breadcrumbs, and you come right back to that gravity is gravity. Well, that's not an explanation. What's electricity? Same thing. I mean, what are the 5 forces? 4 forces: light force, dark, hard, you know, strong force, gravity. What's the other one? Weak force. Yeah. But you follow any one of those. Just pull the thread. You know, pull the thread. Pull the thread. And the whole thing just unravels. They're math. You got to have quantum mechanics to explain the small things, and you've got to have regular physics to explain the big things, and the two are completely opposing and no one can reconcile them. And that's your definition of the universe, of creation, of existence? 2 mathematical systems that cannot be reconciled? Huh? My favorite, this really is my favorite. Dark matter, you all know dark matter? There has to be X amount of matter creates, matter is mass, mass has gravity, gravity holds the whole thing together. Otherwise it would just implode or just spin out forever, right? So what keeps everything from crashing into each other and imploding or exploding? Well, there's gravity, which keeps things, you know, in balance, keeps everything kind of, you know, at the right distance, you know, right? Okay. But in order to have enough gravity to balance the equation, you got to have a certain amount of mass. They can't find it. I swear I could not make this up if I wanted to. Google it. That great oracle of truth. Look under Google. Look under dark matter. You know why it's called dark matter? Because they can't see it. I mean, they're trying to smash the atom, and you know they're just like groping around out there trying to figure out what's happening. But the fact of the matter, so they don't have answers. They don't have definitions. It's all bluff and smokescreen. Now let's follow some seamless logic. Okay, help me out. See, I was on a morning walk and somebody quoted Bhagavatam. Prabhupada was trying to make a progression, a logical point. And someone was quoting Gita, which is fantastic, right? But for this particular place, said, forget Gita, we're talking logic. So let's just construct the thing, all right? It's the either-or question, the famous either-or question. Either everything's happening by chance, random. And here's their argument. When you point, well, and then we say, everything's happening by random chance. We say, well, hang on a minute, mate. There's pattern, there's order, there's symmetry, there's design. One guy tried to tell me, up here at UCSD, a professor, said, well, because we were hunter and gatherers, and there's so much raw data coming in, the brain is conditioned to put things, there's really no pattern. There's no design, there's no pattern. It's our information processing system. The brain is involved so that you've got all this sensory perception coming at you. You got to put it into patterns. You got to put it into box. Otherwise, you hear that twig snap, you filter it out. It's the saber-toothed tiger about to devour you as a snack item. So you got to learn to take all the, flashes, lights, everything. You got to be able to put it in boxes and prioritize it. There's no pattern. You just create pattern. I mean, that's a whole other, but it's so completely bogus. It completely. You show up here for the Sunday feast. Nice guest. Got a card from one of the book distributors. Came to the Thursday. And you show up at the appointed time and everything's jumbled up. The lights are off. The curtains aren't out. It's just a mess and there's no feast. What does, oh, you're bummed out. But what do you say, well, who's in charge? What happened? Who's in charge? It's the first thing you ask. If everything's all, who's in charge? What happened? You don't think, oh, well, there's really no pattern. There's no expectation of design or pattern or result. It's just my info system from my, generic evolution of the brain since I was a, caveman. Do you think that? Does anyone think that? And yet they're trying to shovel it down our throat. So, hang on a mate. It's like the empress no clothing, everybody would be, oh, it's so fine, only you can, you can. And the guy's walking out naked. Finally, some kid says, hey, king's got no clothes on. Sometimes it just takes some common logic to step back and look. Hang on a minute, Mr. PhD. Piled higher and deeper, permanent humility disorder, permanent head damage. Hang on a minute. We're not anti-science, don't get me wrong, all that stuff, don't send me the weird emails. But the fact of the matter is logic, pattern, order, system, design. That is the most logical. Occam's razor. You take a complex system and you look at the simplest answer. The simplest answer with the fewest steps is 99% the proper answer. Everything happened by random chance, no order, no pattern, no design, although everywhere we look, from the biggest to the smallest, we see order, pattern, symmetry, design. I'm supposed to just kick all of that over. What's the most logical thing? Well, there's an intelligence behind it. Now, simultaneous with that, let me introduce the Vedic Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasisyate. Anyone know what Purnam means? Other than Dravida? Other than you? Complete. Full. Complete. Now, if the absolute is Purnam, which is what the Ishopanishad and throughout the Vedas, if the absolute is complete, if I have, we're going to go a little over time, I promise, but not too much. If I have a set of numbers, sorry to take you back to algebra, but if I have a set of numbers, and I take a subset out of that numbers, think first, Prabhupada's simple and fantastic example. If I have the ocean, I take a drop out of the ocean. Can I have any quality in that drop that was not in the ocean? No. Doesn't make any sense at all. It'll be in minute quantity, but the quality will be the same. So, similarly, if I have a set of numbers, I take a subset of numbers. Can I have a number in that subset that is not in the original set? Impossible. Now, if we take this existence, everything we experience, as the set of numbers, Purnam, is everybody here the same? Are we all one? Are we all actually one consciousness? What is the very fiber of our existence? That we're individuals. We have personalities. People get completely bent out of shape and rightly, don't treat me like a number. I'm not just a work unit. It's the very fiber of the self, is individuality and desire, isn't it? I mean, that's what... So, all of us, subsets of the original set, all have... Because we're saying there's intelligence and Purnam to be complete. So that intelligence to be complete must have a personality. Otherwise, we have something that the absolute does not have. We all have desires. You're all thinking, when's this guy going to wrap it up and what's for breakfast? So we all have desires. It's the very definition. It's the very. If you want to know if the wind is blowing, I'm inside my room. I can't experience it directly. How do I know if the wind is blowing?
What's the easiest thing to do? Don't overthink it, my friends. You just look outside and you see the leaves are moving. You see the wind by its symptom. So we consider intelligence, personality. What's the symptom? The symptom is we all have desires, we have activities. So how can the absolute just be a white light, have no form, have no activities? Share with me the seamless logic of that. So if you accept that there's a cause, it's intelligence. There's a cause. Behind everything, I think, therefore I am. We're all here, right? I mean, I'm not so sure about you guys. You might be a dream, for me. But you know you exist. You know you exist. There's an interior and external world, right? We all have a sense of self, and we have a sense of the world. Tatsandarbha, Jiva Goswami, seer, seen, and the act of seeing. We all, just start at the bottom baseline. Okay, I'm here, I'm looking out at stuff, and there's that experience. That I know is a fact. Seer, seen, and act of seeing. So, in the same way, as I have personality, as I have desire, okay, so we went from, there has to be a cause. That cause has to have intelligence. That intelligence means to be full must have a personality. Personality, what is the meaning of a personality that doesn't have activities? Does somebody have a personality if they're not active? I mean, you call them a wallflower, or they got some kind of psychosis or neurosis. They don't speak, don't act. Is it autism? You can't relate to other people. God, the absolute cause of all causes is autistic? Huh? So I'm trying to develop a progression so that we don't take the Damodar Leela cheaply. We understand its full potency and weight. So there has to be form, there has to be activities, there has to be relationships. There's reciprocation. That's the whole happiness of human life. Even the dog loves his master if he's a good dog. I don't know about cats. I think cats pretty much think you're a source of food, but but there's some bondage. There's some, and that's what makes it worthwhile. Why does the father and the mother work so hard? Because they get a little reciprocation from the kids. There's a little love. There's some bhav. So the absolute truth, the cause of all causes, the origin from which everything emanates, has no bhav, has no relationships, has no emotion. There's no reciprocation. You've just taken a complete U-turn and gone into the world of inconsistent rambling. Show me seamless, consistent logic. Sit down with me. Let's talk. Come and let us reason together, as they say in the Bible. And you try to prove to me that the cause of all causes is not a person. Now, once you get into persons and relationships, well, let's refine that. Okay, there's, what do they call it? Economic relationship. There's a political relationship. There's all kinds of relationships. On an individual relationship, I've got a master and a boss. I got to do what he says or he drops me down the shaft. There's all kinds of relationships. It's a long story. I'll tell you some other time. I had to go to court one time. Well, I'll just say it so you're not thinking it's something else. As a young brahmachari, I was doing Sankirtan at a 7-Eleven. Not a 7-Eleven, a Kmart, which is the precursor to Walmart. And they had these broken bags of soil in the back of it. I thought they were trash. It wasn't. I wanted to think they were trash, if you know where this train is going. So I went out there because we were redoing the backyard of the Detroit temple, putting in. This is a cautionary tale because you'll see how it ends. And I thought, well, they're probably trash. And if they stop me, I'll tell them I thought it was trash. And everything belongs to Krishna anyway. And so I went out there with a van, threw it all in the van, and as I was leaving the parking lot, it was nighttime, but the security guard caught me. I had to go to jail. I had to call the temple president. Govardhan Prabhu, I'm in the clink. Can you get me out of here? I mean, I checked into the Gray Hotel and they won't let me out, So I had to go before the judge, and I just, what could you do? Like they say, you throw yourself on the mercy of the court. I just said, look, I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. I was cheating. I know it. We don't have any money. We've got a new rose garden. I said, and the guy, to his credit, said, listen, we'll let you go. He said, I don't want to see you here again. He said, if I don't see you here again, you got no problems. And he let me go, But Krishna scared me. It was a good, I thought, geez, I don't want to do 6 months in a day camp somewhere. So I don't know how in the world we got off on that. Different relationships. So I had a relationship with that judge, but it wasn't warm and affectionate. When he let me off, I felt pretty grateful. But, there's all kinds of, there's fear, there's, awe and reverence. Again, God in the big chair, like Lincoln Memorial, doesn't even have a face, and he's not in a good mood. He's got that quiver of air, lightning bolts right next to him. So doesn't it make sense? Like Krishna's, here's another one, wrap your mind around it. Krishna's full, fuller, and fullest. How is that possible? Full, fuller, and fullest. That's when we deal in the shades where we've gone beyond the 3 dimensions of, breadth, depth, and height, and beyond the 4th dimension of time. We are in the spiritual world. Krishna is full in Dwarka. He's fuller in Mathura, and he's fullest in Vrindavan. That's nectar of devotion, Rupa Goswami. So we've hopefully gotten to the point that God is a person, and he has personality, he has intelligence, while simultaneously maintaining everything down to, not a blade of grass or an atom moves without the will of the Supreme. At the same time, he has a sporting, loving pastime. He has a place. We've all got, you're homeless if you don't have a place, right? God has no home. He's the ultimate homeless being roaming around with a shopping cart. Help me out. Show me some seamless logic here, The Supreme Personality of Godhead must have the most sublime abode. It must be the most beautiful. Everything beautiful we see in this world must be a reflection or a derivative. I like that word, derivative. It's a reflection or a derivative of the absolute. That's logic. So that's, okay, thanks. Glad you're on board. So, thank you, I appreciate it. But the point I'm trying to make is, therefore, let us look at that. Okay, we've established that there's different types of relationships with the Supreme Lord. Just like I had a relationship with that judge. I got a better relationship with my father, although he was in charge. I had a completely different relationship with my mother. If I ever broke anything or did something stupid, I always went to my mother first, to make my case, so that when my father came home from work, she'd be my advocate for, whatever stupid thing I'd done. So I had a different relationship with my mother, and it builds the idea that there are 5 rasas. Well, there's neutrality, there's servitorship, there's friendship, there's parental, and there's conjugal or madhurya. It makes complete sense that there's and each one is fuller and richer and deeper and more ecstatic. So that we're celebrating in Vrindavan, celebrating here the Vrindavan mood. Prabhupada used to say, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which is a summary of the what time is it? Summary of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, I got it. Thanks. Prabhupada says, okay, love of God is something. Why is the love of God something? It's beneficial. What does that mean? I'm sorry, love of God. God give us this day our daily bread, which is the Mahavakyam, one of the cornerstone verses of the Bible. God give us this day our daily bread. It's a good thing. Why is it a good thing? They recognize the dependence of God. That's a good thing. It'll work. Dependence on the mercy of God. That's the beginning. That's the first step in God realization. I'm dependent, and I'm dependent on whatever. Okay, but Prabhupada said that's not really love of God. That's love of bread. It's a great I read that when I was first coming to, the first book I got, I thought, man, there it is, So, okay, that's the first step, love of bread. Okay, that's all right. You recognize independence. But Prabhupada said, he goes on to say that they're all praying to God, give us this day our daily bread or we're going to starve. But what is Mother, Balaram gave that great class yesterday, he was talking about the milk on the stove and all of that, So what is Mother Yasoda thinking? She's thinking, God feed me. One school of thought is, God feed me, I'm dependent on you, and if you don't feed me, I'll die. What is deeper, richer, sweeter, and the mood of Vrindavan? What is Mother Yasoda thinking? If I don't feed Krishna, oh, my little Krishna will become weak, he'll become sick. She's not thinking, there's not a fig of, oh, for me or for what. That's not even it's not even on the radar. It's not even on the map. How can I feed Krishna? So I think we need to wrap up. I did want to say one other thing, though, just for fun. And it's anyway, whatever. The idea that one source sustains all things. That's a lot to wrap your mind around, because we're saying everything depends on Krishna, right? What is it? Shrute Manigana Iva, and I've forgotten the first to begin it. Matasmita Jnana Maponam Cha? No. Yeah, Nanyad. And the last line is, I just said it. Shrute Manigana Iva, which means all things rest on me, Krishna says in the Gita, like pearls on a thread. Now you're already married, right? No, not you, Francisco. You're married, right? So suppose when wooing your wife, you had given her a pearl necklace, and it was a string with one pearl on it. Would she have been impressed? I mean, she's probably a devotee and said, well, okay, it's the thought that counts. When they say it's the thought that counts, they're really thinking, what's this cheesy thing? So, what is the beauty of a necklace? You don't see the string. It's all pearls. Flip over a Persian rug, Oriental rug, hand-woven rug. The front, I mean, some of those things are just absolutely gorgeous, And so, whatever it is, it's the garden of life or whatever, whatever what a beautiful thing. You flip it over, what's on the back? You see all the, protam and otam, warp and woof? Which from the loom, which holds the whole, you pull, I won't spare your time, but my brother and I, my father used to say 2 half-wits make a nitwit. We pulled the thread on my great aunt's Oriental rug. My great uncle was with the CIA in Iran and brought back, he's got some karma. But was it, an antique Oriental rug, and we're 6 and 8 years old. Zit. Oh, that's interesting. Zit. Oh, that's zit, 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 zit. And we unraveled about this much of an Oriental rug, antique Persian rug, until my mother caught me. We were in the doghouse. But the whole, you don't see the thread, but you pull that thread and the whole thing unravels. The beauty of Krishna's design is that we don't see him. He's like that warp and woof, protam and otam, that's sustaining the whole pattern of creation. But you don't even see him. That's Krishna's mystic power. And an example, I want to say a little Leela and we'll be done, but an example of everything resting. Because this first starts out how Krishna's, in his own abode with his own pastimes, and yet he's sustaining and maintaining everything. You expect me to believe that there's some man in the sky like Catcher in the Rye watching? Hey, come on, buddy. It's the modern times. We're not superstitious anymore. Can anyone give me an example of something that is localized, and yet, I'm going to make it so easy, that is localized and pervades the universe other than Dravida and other than Vaikuntha? Localized, yet pervades all things. Super soul's okay, but we're not going metaphysical. We're going practical experience. Yeah, the earth, what can I see? I can see 10 yards in front of me. Who said sun? Ah. Oh, you shared. It was a joint effort. All right, fine. Oh, you're a ventriloquist. Okay, so the sun, everybody can point to, assuming it's not a cloudy day, okay, work with me. You point to the sun, there it is. And yet it's shining everywhere. It's all pervasive. Now, here's something far out. All energy, sources of energy, natural, so what to speak of solar, but natural gas, oil, coal, all of those are biomass. It's the sun, by photosynthesis or whatever the process, the sun has gone into those and stored up that energy. Then it's compacted as coal or it's turned into oil or what. But all energy that sustains life comes from the sun. In any form you've got it. Ultimate cause is the sun. So that thing which is localized, yet pervades everywhere, is the source of all energy and sustains all life in this world. And let me ask you a question now. Again, seamless logic. How many suns are there in creation? You can't even count them. It's like grains of sand, right? How many suns? So many universes. Every universe has a sun. Now, do you mean to tell me unlimited suns, and that sun pervades everywhere and is localized and is the source of all energy in that universe, that the creator of those unlimited suns cannot have his own place and yet pervade everywhere and cannot be sustaining all things? The source of unlimited suns that do that cannot do it himself? Help me out with some seamless logic. Again, seamless logic. It doesn't make any sense at all. So it is completely logical that Krishna is the source of all sources, sustaining all things, the protum and otum of all existence, and he has his own place, he has his own pastimes, and we can approach him by love. Now, I just wanted to say, because we're way over, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just a little bit about the mood of Vrindavan, and we'll finish. How can the unconquered be conquered? Now, Balaram gave that nice example, which I'd forgotten about, that the milk was thinking, oh, if Mother Yasoda feeds him, then he won't be hungry and I'll lose my service. So she boiled over to it was a diversionary tactic. So Prabhupada said that, well, I want to cut it short. Let's say this. I was in a class. Prabhupada was reading Krishna book, 1970 in Los Angeles. He said, the spiritual world, everything is conscious. Vrindavan can open and close like a lotus. You know how a lotus will close at night and open in the sun? So Krishna's playing on Govardhan Hill, and he's a little late by transcendental time, and he wants to get home back to, Nanda Baba's. Shh, Vrindavan can close and make it short. He's having a great time on his way to Govardhan Hill. Shh, it can expand. The gopis can't leave. They're pretending to be at Govardhan Hill worshiping the sun god and picking flowers for worship because they're really there hanging out because they know the Krishna's going to come around the corner. Krishna can So Vrindavan can expand and contract like a lotus flower. Prabhupada said the rice, when you're cooking, the rice will tell you when it's done. And if you're busy doing something else, the garlands will string themselves. So, and why not? If we, Prabhupada says because the first verse of this purport talked about being omnipotent. If we accept it, that Prabhupada says if you're going to dance, don't pull the veil. I'm dancing on a stage and I pull a veil because I want to be shy. You're on the stage in front of an audience. Do your job, dance, don't, So if we accept that God is omnipotent, is all-powerful, but he can't do this, but he can't do that, well, he can't do that, well, he's all-powerful, but he can't do that. God's all-pervasive, but he can't be here, he can't be there, he can't, Be consistent in your logic. So, what was Balaram saying yesterday in class? Oh, that Krishna, when he was trying to run away from Mother Yasoda, he has this, he's Yogeshwara. One to become bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. So he was thinking, zip, I'll just shrink myself, smaller than an atom, and Mother Yasoda won't be able to find me, right? But what happened? Couldn't do it because he was so much in love with Mother Yasoda and her cries and her anxiety and, her love. He couldn't do it. He could not. So the unconquerable became conquered by her love. So I was thinking about that yesterday. And I was thinking there's a similar pastime when Krishna disappears from the gopis. And we'll end here. But just how the unconquerable, and I hope we've established that unconquerable is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, Shyam Sundar, Vrindavan, yet he can be conquered. So when the gopis were looking for Krishna, and Krishna took the form of Narayan, and I don't know whether he was going to misdirect them or whatever, and when the gopis came upon Lord Narayan, four-handed Vishnu Narayan, Krishna's expansion, they offered their prayers, this and that, but what did they ask him? Do you know where Krishna is, right? But what happened? So he, tricked them just to test their love and see where they were at. So, but what happened? He's disguising himself, Krishna, as Shyamasundar, four hands, when Radharani appeared. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Could not maintain those four arms. So the simple, and that is the sweetness, just to nail it home, just to get in the mood of Karthik and Damodar, that here's, the cause of all causes, the all-powerful, omnipotent Lord has come as beautiful little baby Damodar, Gopal, and is letting us play with him, is reciprocating with us. That is the highest realization and the highest ecstasy. And that's one of the themes of Karthik. So we can end there. Thank you very much. All glories to the power of Bhakti. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And sorry for going over, but at least you got a joke out of it.